welcome to the Light Gate. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we are on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We have a wonderful night ahead of us. I want to thank our sponsor, Carnation. Thank you very much. We love you very much. You've been hanging in there with us, and we really appreciate that. And guess who's got Carnation in her coffee cup tonight? Okay. We are second phase of phase one, which we were on KAren Swain's show. And now she's back with us tonight. And I'm going to hand it over to Preston to get it going.
Yes, this is going to be fun. We've never done this before. And it was an absolute joy to be on KAren's show. And now she's coming on ours. We're doing a little sort of crossover shows like they sometimes do on TV. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. We haven't done this before. Let me welcome you all to episode 150 of the Light Gate. How amazing is that? We have 150 shows, and I'm just going to pop up this comment from Old Dove. Congratulations, Dolly and Preston, on episode 150.
Oh, thank you.
Very, very cool. So yeah, we're really excited. I, of course, am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. For those of you who have not joined us before, I'm an author and researcher and a little bit of a contactee. Dolly is definitely a contactee. She's had an enormous number of experiences. I wrote about her in my book, Symmetry, A True UFO Adventure, which is soon to have a sequel. So yeah, thanks you guys for joining us. We are absolutely honored and delighted to have KAren Swain back. I'm going to say a very quick hello to you folks because it's because of you we do this show. I'm going to be quick about it because we really do want to get to our guest as soon as possible. So please forgive me if I whip through this very quickly. But we have Teresa Levine. Hello. We have AM 8370.
Hello.
We have no one who I think is someone.
Hi.
We have Wellwood. Great show yesterday and happy to be back again today. Awesome.
Thank you.
We have Janie Mashburn. Hello, Janie. We have Aussie Angie. Very
Hi,
cool.
Aussie. Yeah.
Our guest is also Aussie.
Right. Good day.
We have Vladdy B and Patsy Foister. We have Bahamakin and Cherise Bazilla.
And Cherise.
Yep. Scarlet Fire. We love you very much. Z Sundragon. Flea Market Gold.
Hello.
Very, very cool.
Yep.
Louise.
Hi, Louise.
So much. We absolutely appreciate that.
Yeah.
You too, namaste. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means so much to us. And it's just so heartwarming. We have the Owl Man.
Hey, Owl Man.
Ooh, I'm starting a question already from the Sunken Lantern. Yeah, wow. This is going to be partially a Q&A show, so definitely get your questions in because we're exploring the topic of consciousness.
Right, and let us get something. We did homework last night, so we have to do that tonight, okay? Just saying. All right. Okay. I don't forget. All right.
All right, I think I'm just about done here, Dolly. Just a few more. Sunny Burnett, thank you so much. We truly appreciate your donation. Very generous of you. Texas Cacti. Yay.
Nice. Yay.
A few others here. Kira Jade.
Kira.
Z Sundragon.
Hi, Z
Sundragon. Now we're on to part 2 with Brenda Whelan. And Catmaster Trass. I had a biopsy. I'm nervous about it. Oh, goodness. Now I'm nervous, too. We're praying for you that everything comes out wonderfully for that. I'm sure it will. Oh, man, thank you very much. Ogaz Hanardik. I think I got that right. Thank you, my friend. We absolutely are so appreciative, you guys, always supporting us. Hello, Michelle.
Good day.
Carfast in Central Wisconsin.
Hello.
Michelle Tawagi, all the way from Canberra. How cool is that? So
very nice.
We're getting some of KAren's audience for sure. We have Van Z. We have
Hello.
Earth, Wind, Earth, Water, Wind. I don't know why, but it's pulling me
New.
to a new follower.
Welcome.
Oh, very cool.
Thank you very much. Welcome here. It's going to be fun.
All right, I think it's. Oh, gotta say hello to Polly. We love you, Polly.
Chloe, I
We
love
hope
you.
you're doing well, and we're praying for
Shalom,
peace
my
on
dear.
Earth.
Yes.
Hello, Joe. And okay, let's get started.
Yes.
You probably already know our guest, but I am going to give a quick introduction to KAren Swain. We're talking about consciousness communication. And KAren Swain is an experienced spiritual teacher, a mentor, a galactic guide, radio podcast host, author, inspirational speaker, and so much more. Her life mission is to help enlighten others to recognize the power of their thoughts and beliefs and to live in alignment with their emotional guidance system. She's had a lifetime of ET and paranormal experiences. And she is the founder at Blissful Beings Reminders from Home, creator at Awakened by Death, Stories of Transformation, a book she co-authored with Cyrus Kirkpatrick. And she's done a lot of other things. She has a growing YouTube channel, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness. And we go on and on. And if I missed anything, KAren, you let me know.
Thank you for the introduction. I didn't manage to get an introduction out for you guys on my show yesterday, but I'm pretty sure most people know who you are. And if you don't, go and re-listen to the other shows that I've done with Preston and Dolly. I think I've managed to get in the introduction there. But
yeah. Guess too. So this has got to be what, the fourth time, something like that.
Yeah. I love you guys. As I said, I love what you're doing.
Yes.
And the Awakened by Death, I co-authored. Cyrus helped. He did the editing, but it's 12 different stories of people having a spiritual awakening through the death experience. Some, like me, through the death of mum. I know you could have been an author in there too, Preston, because I think your mum's death really knocked you into shape too. Like, had you asking questions. Mum kept coming to me in dreams saying she didn't die, and I'm like, what? But and a few NDEers, they've had their own death, and Cyrus is a bit like you guys in that he can consciously OBE, and he would he can sit down on the couch and shut his eyes and pop out of his body and retain the memory when he comes back in. And I used to have great chats with Cyrus all about that. He says that he remembers seeing his flatmate out of his body at night, sort of hovering around his body and looking a kind of a little lost. His flatmate wasn't so conscious when he popped out of his body at night. He'd just sort of hover and stay in the bedroom. He didn't go off and have adventures like you guys do, or like all of us do, really. But some people aren't so conscious when they pop out of their body as others. So that was interesting. Yeah. And Cyrus, like
system, think about it. I'd ask about belief system, because sometimes a belief system can hold you on the spot and stop you from going walkabout. It's amazing to me. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how people become earthbound. They don't believe in life after death. And they're still alive, and they're very confused. It's like, well, I must still be alive. And actually, no, they're not.
Exactly. And I've heard stories from you guys saying that when you pop out of body at night, often you'll come across someone wandering through your environment house, looking a little lost, and you'll say, can I show you where you'd like to go to meet your family and stuff? They're sort of bemused. They're out of their body, and they don't know they are. Like, where am I? What am I doing? But they're drawn to your house. They're drawn to your light.
Yeah.
So,
I blame Dolly mostly, but
blame Dolly. Blame it on Dolly.
Because lost souls are drawn to mediums. They radiate a light, from what I understand.
Yeah,
that draws people to them. But I do remember one time where that happened. This one just always comes to my mind because it was so poignant. I popped out of body, walked out in the living room. There was this little boy, and he looks up at me with joy and kind of pride and says, I was mauled to death by a bull.
Oh, wow.
And he said, my name is Buster, and I was mauled to death by a bull. Little freckle-faced kid. I just, my heart. Like this poor little kid, and he's happy as a clam.
He's not happy. I know. We talked about this on ATP yesterday with the fabulous audience participation. We're talking about death, dimensions, ETs. And a lot of people are asking about death. I still don't know about the death thing. And yeah, this is something I say. When you speak to dead people, they're never, ever, ever unhappy that they're dead. Ever. Like the kid, I was mauled to death by a bull. Yeah, you're making a face, Dolly. You don't think so? You think some people
that's perfect. You know, in my mind, that's perfect innocence still activated. You know, it's the, how do I put this? The living soul of this child is still a child. Okay. And he is still in that, he's still who he is as a child. And the wonder, the wide-eyed wonder and the unfiltered truth that will come out of their mouths is amazing. And it always amazes me when I walk into that or I see it, you know, and they're just trying to acclimate. And I think those souls show up to us because we're meant to help them. In other words, there's a lot going on the other side, and people are drawn to people who are ready to help receive them and bring them through. It's kind of a job, you know. We're all supposed to be helping one another, and that's how it is on the other side. And if this little child's family isn't standing there waiting for him, and they're, you know what I'm saying, and he's still in here wondering what's going on, he's got to find somebody familial to him. And we all have familial relatives on the other side that go back thousands of years, and so it's your energy that they know, and they come right to you looking for you. And you might not have in this life known them, but by God, there's something to do with you, and they're looking for help. That's what I think.
It is so interesting, because Dolly kind of taught me, like, you really need to ask these people who they are.
Yes.
Figure out how they died and what's going on.
Names. Yeah.
And so one time I popped out, and there's this guy, and so I asked him, it's like, what's your name? He says, my name is Thoreau Dean. You can't make this stuff up. You know, I mean, he had a very Southern drawl. So I looked up that name. I couldn't find him, unfortunately. But to have someone just say such an unusual name was like
Thoreau, wow. Thoreau Dean. Yeah. I had this wonderful healer on my show last year, Desda Zuckerman, who I've had on the show previously. And remember, I was talking about Judith Collins, the Australian aura reader. So Desden is the American version, but she can see not just the electromagnetic aura, she can see the soul, the colors of the soul. Amazing. Anyway, she said something to me on the show, last time I had her on the show. Don't use white light for healing because it attracts earthbound souls. And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Because I always use white light for healing. And then I thought to myself, well, if I attract earthbound souls, that's okay. I'm cool with that. You know, it doesn't worry me. But if you're not psychic and you don't know that you've got earthbound souls, you know, buzzing around your house or whatever, maybe I don't know, maybe it can interfere. I don't know. What do you guys think about that statement?
Well, I've been watching this my whole life. I mean, I've been surrounded by this my entire life. And by the time I was 6 or 7, I knew I was seeing people come and go. Yes, you know, my mother was pretty good. This is one of the weird things about my mom. She was very aware herself, and she would say, "Oh, we got somebody in the house," and we would all pay attention to that and start looking for them. You know, like if you're going to be in our environment, you were going to find out who you are. And I just grew up with that attitude. And every now and then it would go completely blank in there. And then other times there'd be 20 people walking around and you're going. And one of the things that I learned about this is that literally there's a whole bunch of conditions on what happens when people pass. Okay. And if your family isn't with you, you know, that's the number one that I see. I see people walking around bewildered because they were alone when they passed. Okay, no family, no friends, no nothing. And it shocks them a little bit, you know? And then if there's nobody on the other side to greet them for some reason, they're not going to go to the light. They're not going to go the way they should go. They're going to linger. And I don't know if it's karmic. I can't answer those questions. I don't know, because everybody's different, right? We all have our reasons.
I'm asking as you're talking, do you want to hear what they're saying? I said to them, why would someone not have people meet them? And what I got from my guides is that would be a situation that they've set up as part of their soul plan, a part of their learning process. Just like we have the opportunity to awaken when we're in our physical body, we still have that opportunity when we awaken to a greater consciousness, to a greater reality, to a multi-dimensional reality. As we leave and we're in our astral form, we still have, you know, we can still, because we're sort of attached to the earth frequency still, and we can still have the opportunity to awaken. And that's why you get earthbound souls, because they've got that opportunity to awaken and they're not doing it. Just like physically incarnated souls, you can have lifetime after lifetime after lifetime where you say, okay, this time I'm going to awaken, and you don't.
Well, you said something, Karen, that really struck a chord, that they're still attached to Earth, because if you learn how to do astral projection, almost for sure, you're going to be recruited into crossing over lost souls. I've heard pretty much from every practiced astral traveler. And it's for some reason, people who have recently crossed over and are still attached don't see the other side, or the people from the other side, as clearly as they see the living.
Right.
Here's a good example. I popped out of body and I'm walking through the house, and there's this lady standing next to another lady. And so I walked up to the lady who was clearly the one having the problem, and I said, "What's your name?" She did not know her name. Her friend says, "My name is," I think it was Barb or something, and she told me this lady's name. Her name is Julie, and gave this very unusual last name. So I'm like, I want to look that up. And I did find her. I got verification. I saw the picture and everything.
Wow.
But she said that she had been basically overdosed, and they left her in the gutter, and it was not okay. I'm like, well, I can help you. And at that point, she saw her friend, and her friend's like, no, we're good now. I don't need your help anymore. She sees me. And flew off with her to the other side.
Yeah.
Which had never happened to me before.
That's crazy.
Well, getting back to Desda saying don't use white light for healing because you attract earthbound souls, because they see the light and they're like, oh. I asked while we were talking before, I asked my mob, I reverently call my guides a mob, are there any earthbound souls around us at the moment? And you know what they said to me? They said no, but there's a huge crowd of other souls that are all here for this conversation, like masses of them. And I said, okay, so does that mean that if there are any earthbound souls, they'll just, you know, shoo them away or take them to where they need to go? And they said, yeah, because it's like spirit guides and galactic consciousness and higher selves and, you know, whatever, the mob. And I'm like, oh, okay, because this is something that, because I don't have the memory like you guys do coming back into body. But if there are earthbound souls that are attracted to the white light I'm using, I rely on the spirit guides. You like just show them where they need to go. Or maybe when I pop out of body, I'll show them where they need to go. But I kind of rely on that guidance. I just rely on it. I rely on it to not interfere with what I've got to do while I'm here on earth, you know, not haunt me or attach to me or do whatever they want to do. You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting is ghosts are always around us all the time. You know, people might not see them, but they're there. But definitely meeting. Remember the movie Ghost?
Yeah.
When Whoopi Goldberg became an active medium after, you know, kind of faking it for
pretending.
a while. Crowding her room. I've heard so many mediums say that. Dolly says this sort of thing. She's like, there's a bunch of people here. And it turns out this morning I had an OBE because the dog woke me up early.
Yeah.
It was thundering and lightning, and she wanted to go outside. I'm like, oh God, it's like 6 a.m. earlier. So I let her out and I went back to bed, and I immediately popped out, and our house was crowded. And I'm looking at Dolly, and she's kind of having a good old time with these folks. I'm like, oh, I know who, these are her friends from who she used to work with.
I is my battle buddy. I just found out about a week ago that my battle buddy had passed, and I just found out about it. And I was really pissed off that I didn't know, but they had no way to find me. So, you know.
When you say battle buddy, what's a battle buddy? I don't understand.
When you're in the Army, you have, we all designate for ourselves our battle buddies who's in your unit. And he was.
Oh, in the Army, people in the Army. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So he was in the Army, and was he still active in the Army when he passed? No.
No. And so I've been sending the call out for him, and then last night he showed up with everybody who's already passed that we all knew, and we were having like a homecoming and having a really good time. So Preston showed up, and they're still watching us tonight. When you say there's a group, there's a group.
There's a crowd. There's a whole crowd.
There
is a crowd.
Wanted to watch me from this side of it, so he was like, oh, God, you called me, you found me, because he couldn't find me either for some reason, and we hooked up. So yeah, I got a bunch of people watching us tonight.
That's very cool. I
there's
just want everyone in chat know that I am putting stars next to all your questions, so we will get to the questions.
I know
Yes.
Preston's in control of the chat, so I'm not looking. Amazing, Preston. Janie says. I in the book Awakened by Death, I put one of the guests, people that I'd met through the show, Garnet Schulhauser, a Canadian guy whose spirit guide takes him on all these journeys in his astral body to many different planets and to meet Sasquatch and all different things. And he kind of blew my mind when I first heard his stories. And he had the opportunity of being on the spirit side, he calls it the spirit side, to witness a mediumship reading. So he was witnessing a mediumship reading from the other side. And I found this story fascinating, so fascinating, I actually put it in the book. So a young girl, a little girl had been taken and raped and murdered. It was a hideous story. And her mother was at the park with her on her phone, and she looked down to answer a text, and she looked up and the little girl was gone. And they found the body. So the parents were beside themselves. And thanks, Dolly. And they didn't believe in any of this stuff, but the father just couldn't console the grief of the mother because the mother held so much guilt for looking at her phone. And so they went to a medium, something they wouldn't believe in, but they were desperate, you know. So like when you're desperate, you have a spiritual awakening. Anyway, so he witnessed this exchange of the medium talking to the little girl in spirit and why that happened, the soul contract. And it was an amazing story. And it was all about the soul contract between the little girl and the parents, because the parents wanted to experience this trauma, and their what's intention was to stay committed to each other through this trauma. That was their intention. They wanted to see if they could stay committed, because often something like that will tear people apart. And they said, will you set this up with me before I came? And I'm happy, and please don't be sad, and I'm fine, and blah, blah, blah. And as many souls say from the other side. But to witness that exchange, like hanging out with the spirits and then seeing the little girl talk to the medium and then watch the medium interpret what the little girl was saying to the parents, not always perfect, but, you know, gets the message across. Yeah, it was really interesting. And so, yeah, that was one of the stories I put in the book, having a spiritual awakening through death.
Returning to the theme of, you know, consciousness, it's interesting to me how events that we would perceive as tragic or difficult are actually learning opportunities for us to pull us out of perhaps stinking thinking or a rut or, you know, push us towards our life path or awaken us into a much, you know, greater consciousness, a more fuller awareness, a higher awareness, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
I think that when we look at tragedies, and this can be anything from the loss of a loved one to financial struggles, to an illness, to, you know, even addiction or whatever, what have you. These are things that to some degree, I think we choose to help awaken us up, to shake things up.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Challenges teach you more than anything else. It's easy to learn something and not know how to employ that knowledge to the good or wisely. But sometimes hard lessons do exactly that. It's almost cathartic to have a hard lesson, because it plants it onto you. It can't be erased, and people learn that way. And it's a weird thing. It can either go good or bad. Sometimes we learn when we stay in the hard zone, and and then sometimes we learn it well. And I think there's an old saying, learn your lessons well. We don't say that to one another enough. It's like any lesson you learn, you should learn well, you know? Don't take it the wrong way. In other words, you know, if it happened, it happened. Let that go and figure out why you are reacting the way you are. That's where you heal yourself. And then you fix it, you know?
I had Neil Gore on the show last year. I usually have him on a couple of times from Portal to Ascension. We were talking about AI, and he was actively using AI as we were talking about it live on the show. And someone had asked the question, why is suffering involved in spiritual awakening? And so he said, let's ask AI. And so the answer came back so beautifully. I haven't got it completely verbatim in my mind, but it was something like, because suffering or trauma breaks you out of your looping patterns. Like, you know, as humans, we can get so in habitual behavior. I know I do. You know, like every morning I say, I'm not going to have any bread today. And they're like, my habitual behavior is toast for breakfast, Vegemite toast for breakfast, right? And like breaking those patterns is not always easy. Smoking, like whatever pattern it is. And so that sort of trauma breaks you out of those looping patterns and gives you another opportunity to think differently instead of just being on this emotional looping. That's not exactly how I put it, but they used an analogy of like somewhat like when you're exercising a muscle. In order for the muscle to grow, it has to tear before it grows. It tears and then repairs. And they used that analogy, and I thought, wow, that's such a great analogy. Yeah. So I was amazed.
And it heals. It's stronger where the break was than any other part of the bone.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons we pass on ultimately, because this does offer us an opportunity to completely change. And frankly, we go to sleep each night because each morning offers us another opportunity.
It does.
You know?
Yeah, it does. It offers it. Do we take the offer? Not always. I know I don't. I so see that looping patterns. You know, we get stuck in ruts and patterns and behavior and habits.
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable. You know,
I like a routine. I'm not gonna lie. You know, but every now and then I get, you know, I reach a point where I'm like, I'm starting to get really antsy, really restless. And I have to make a great change in my life at least every 5 or 10 years.
Right.
Whether that's moving or getting a new job or doing something crazy. It used to drive me crazy.
I've got to say to you, I'm not someone who likes habituals. I like to break things up a bit. I remember when I first met my second husband, he was a man of habit. And I noticed that he slept on the same side of the bed every night. And I like to sort of shake things up a bit. I'm a bit of a
oh, no.
So I remember getting into his bed. This is when we were first dating. And I'm on his side of the bed. And he walks into the bedroom and he starts scratching his head. You know, when people are uncomfortable, they'll touch their face. And the higher they touch, the more uncomfortable they are. So he's scratching his head because he's really uncomfortable. And I said, "You're coming to bed?" And he's like, "Oh, but you're in my side of the bed." And I'm like, "But you can sleep on the other side, can't you? It's just a bed." And he's like, "Oh." I was just messing with him because I knew how he loved his routine, right? And I was totally messing with his routine.
I love that. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And then we got married, and then we got stuck in the pattern. And he was always on his side of the bed. I was always on my side of the bed. Like we got stuck in the patterns. Yeah,
that's a method I use to, you know, kind of go OBE. Sometimes I will sleep with my head at the foot of the bed because
interesting.
It's disorienting a little bit, and you sleep a little bit lighter, and it's just enough of a push to sort of push you into an OBE. Weirdly enough, it works.
That's really interesting, Preston. So maybe if you're consciously wanting to remember your OBE, do something different. Don't do your patterned routine when you go to bed at night. Sleep in a different position. That's really interesting. Yeah.
It's absolutely effective. So do you guys want to answer some questions? Or
absolutely. There's so many. I've seen a few of my friends and questions online. My friend Chris is online from Canada. Go on.
In order. And this is a good one because there's been a lot of talk about this from the Sunken Lantern. Hey, Preston and Dolly and Karen. What do you guys think about the incoming shift of the Earth and humanity into the fifth dimension? Dolly, you want to take that, or shall I start?
You go.
I'm going to answer it this way. We're already part of the fifth dimension. We are part of Source. We are part of the third dimension. We're in all dimensions. The idea of astral travel is a bit of a misnomer because, frankly, our home is in Source, and we are projecting down into the third dimension. So really a matter of reaching the fifth dimension is something that is done through the work, the hard work of gathering experience and wisdom and applying that knowledge. Dolly and I are talking about this in Symmetry 2. because she was basically taken to the fifth dimension.
Yep.
And it was quite an experience. So I don't think that we're going to shift automatically. They're all entities are interdimensional beings, all of them.
Yeah.
And all life is interdimensional. So in a way, there's validity to that statement, but I don't like the way it's being portrayed, I guess.
Bandied around.
I'm just going to say it point blank, okay? I'm just going to be dead up honest with y'all. You are in the third dimension. You're in this body in the third dimension until the day you leave this body in the third dimension. If ET was to pick you up tonight and take you anywhere in the universe, you would still be in the third dimension. They would not dare to pull you out and bring you anywhere. And I was taught that lesson by being shown the fifth dimension to see how long I could take it. I lasted exactly 8 minutes.
Wow.
I could not take it. I was not ready to be there. And they made me prove it to myself by offering me that opportunity. And it solidified what I'm about to say to you. You come here to learn. You are not going to be given anything. You are not going to be rescued. You are not going to be told anything. You're your own self. You're sovereign. You're autonomous. And for you to make it out of here, out of this learning room that you're in, you must evolve. And you can only do that one way, and that is to know all that is knowable and then proceed. And that means any way that you can learn anything, up your ability to understand and see what is really going on around you. Use your abilities. Make sure that you are in tune with who your consciousness really is, because you are not the body. You are more than that. And till you learn that lesson and what it means, you're not going anywhere. That's the way this whole universe works. This is the way it was created for us, and this is the rules. Scientifically speaking, third dimensional people are already living amongst everybody in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way to the 12th dimensional space. You can't see it because you're in a gravity heavy environment. Your eyesight is limited. Unless you use your abilities, you can't see past that. That's why some of us were evolving into that ability, see ghosts or people, entities who are non-corporeal anymore, and they're between places, and we see them. We can see clearly into the fourth dimension here, and fourth dimensional beings are clearly able to see us as well. We're one with another, in whatever space you're at, you're in that dimensional space with fourth dimensional entities, fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional. We're all together in the same space, dimensionally different. And you can't see past the one you're in unless you develop the ability to do so. So no, there's not going to be a cosmic shift. You're not going to transmutate. You're not going to shift into the fifth dimension. The only way you're getting out of here is to leave this body behind, just saying. And you don't want to do that until you're ready. Trust me. Think about that hard. Think about it hard. Okay.
I think we use the word dimension probably incorrectly, but it's been bandied around in the conscious community. I think depicting or describing elevation of consciousness or expansion of consciousness, and that what we talked about consciousness yesterday as our awareness. You know, when we expand our consciousness, we're more aware of who we are as energetic beings and multidimensional beings. And the more you expand that awareness, the more you elevate your consciousness or expand your consciousness. And I think that when they talk about moving to the fifth dimension in the conscious community, I think they're really trying to talk about that, whereas it's probably not the right word to use. That's why it's so interesting in the book, The Tide of Prophecy. I'm going to come back to that. We were talking about that yesterday. They talk about category of planets, and where Earth is a first category planet, depicting that consciousness awareness that we're all out in it for ourselves. What can it's in for me. You know, I'll kill somebody to get money. me. What's good here? And that category is more how unified we come together and how we see ourselves as that all of us an extension of source, and that there that not that separation. Yeah, these different categories. And so probably category is a better word than dimension. But the question I want to pose to you two is, when you're out of body in your astral adventures, are you in different dimensions, or are you still in the third dimension, depending on where you're going? Because I know, you know, you go to different levels. I have memory of going to different levels of
You're outside space-time. You literally leave the third dimension. You become interdimensional.
You leave the third dimension.
I don't know anybody who has the ability to go all the way out, okay, into source directly, but it just depends on your development and your abilities. I definitely understand that your body's physically here. I'll give you a for instance. The ET, those who come in, the ships, they're all interdimensional craft. They're alive. They're made to be biologically alive, and they have a fifth dimensional entity indwelling in each one of those craft. They do that so those fifth dimensional entities decided they wanted to come in here and see us and talk to us, and they work with third dimensional people who are here, who are advanced enough to make the connection with them and do that. They've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years. But these Talata is a fifth dimensional being. He's non-corporeal. He's made it out of this paradigm, and he lives in the fifth dimension. That's why he offered me the ability to go visit it. And what I learned really, really fast is there is nothing but light in the fifth dimension.
So, Dolly, when you visited it in your etheric astral form, your energetic body, not your physical form.
Physically went. He took me
in the craft. Physically went. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. And so you were saying that because you were in your physical body, it was really difficult for you to sustain that frequency because you're in your physical body.
No, it's not frequency. I started losing my corporeal being. It started to turn to light. And my body could not take that transformation at all. It was going to kill me. And I would not have been able to stay there. I would have been dead, and I would have moved on at that point. I know that. Absolutely understood what that meant. I cannot physically take this body and go into the fifth dimension. I will die. My physical body will die, and I will go back to source. There's no transmutation into the fifth dimension with this body from here. Not going to happen.
Do you think that in the future, the physical form, as we understand it, will be able to acclimate to fifth dimensional frequency, or will all live in light bodies? The rainbow body, light body.
As we evolve.
It's hard to you're already light. You're a light being. You're in everybody in source, we're all light. Okay. And the dimensional spaces that we can occupy outside of source are classrooms all around, all the way up. Okay. So fifth dimensional light beings have gone through all of what they had to learn to make it up into that level of wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Okay. I used to call Talata Oracle. He used to get mad at me for that. Why are you calling me that? I was like, because you got way more going on than I do. You can answer anything. He said, no, I can't. That's what I want you to understand. I know what I know here, and there's way more above me, and I have a lot to learn too. And I was like, oh, and he drove it home for me. We're all in classrooms, literally from source. We come out of source into here. So no, you can't. You have to
every experience, every dimension is another classroom. This is what my guides have said to me too, because so many people talk about when they have NDEs, they go back to heaven, but it's just another experience, another classroom. Like when I was talking about Garnet and his spirit guide takes him to the spirit side, as he calls it, he sees people walking around in different dress depending on how they want to depict themselves, like some Victorian, some spaceship looking, like modern, some old. So they can manifest whatever look they want depending on what life, past life or life they want to look like. But somebody asked him on one of my groups once, do you see any ETs there and like aliens? And he said, no, I didn't. It was kind of like a playground for people that were manifesting as, as their Earth human lives. And then the question was, I'll pose to you, both of you, is there like an ET heaven wherever that they can do that in their ET bodies, like another experience?
ET are exactly like us. They have the same, we are all in source together. They are not different from us at all. They just look different because they're living in a different ethnic place than us. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when you go over to the other side, you can say, well, I want to talk to one of my brothers in other words, Preston got to see an ET on the other side. He went right by him with that stop. And then the poor fellow was like, huh, what are you doing? And he never stopped. And I said, why didn't you turn around and go back and talk to that guy? He said, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, you would have found out that he's just like you. He's just holding on to a form because he wants to. Okay.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Here's what you also have to understand. You have lived all over this universe in the third dimension at one time or another in your existence. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
been a gray, you've been a tall white, you've been a
I have.
you've been all kinds you've been like Horus, you've been like, Osiris,
Yep.
you've been we're like
Yep.
everybody. And
I've been a mantid. I've seen myself as a mantid, a big
So when this
mantis
thing
being.
I've seen myself as other beings. Yeah.
I
But
used to be a dragon, okay? It's
A
not
dragon.
yes,
Ooh,
ma'am,
dragons.
I'm kidding. And but we're all the same. That's what we have to stop stinking thinking here. And you said it eloquently a minute ago. When you go to the other side, you're still sometimes holding on to what you were in the last life or whatever, or what you're comfortable looking like. Because outside of source, you're still in the in-between place. Source, you're already still in source. We live in source. I asked if I could go live in source again, and the answer was no. You're on your way. You came out of source and you're staying out of source until you can go back in with the ability to take yourself there on your own. And I went,
interesting.
oh. And I thought, boy, that's a big, munch that one in your head. Okay. Munch that in your head. We're there, but we're not. We're not allowed to completely make the return until we're ready to. And I was like, well, that makes perfect sense to me because we have reasons for wanting to go home all the time. Okay. Think about it. And when we see our brothers on the other side, or we see our ET brothers, the love is so great. We feel like we're at home. That's because we all have each other, and we have to remember that. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think we have a tendency to look at other dimensions as another place.
It's not.
That's not what it is. Actually, I really liked what Dolly.
Yes.
Learning to go out of body is not like actually leaving somewhere. You are expanding who you are, and it's a matter of applied knowledge. This is something that as you acquire wisdom, you can learn how to do this. I have a little guide. I'll send it to anyone, how to do OBE. Just email me, prestonufo@gmail.com, because all it really is a matter of applying knowledge.
Right.
And you can gain that experience. And then you move into the dimension that you already inhabit.
Right.
Not like you're going anywhere.
You're going to learn new experiences so you add to your knowledge. Somebody said, do I have to learn all knowledge? And I said, yes, you do, but you don't have to do it in this lifetime. And that's really important to understand. Those who are going to be mathematics and physicists and doctors and philosophers and all of that, saints, whatever you want to call them, I'm telling you, they're already on that road. If you meet somebody like that, more power to you. That's what they're learning right now. If you're not in that learning phase of that, whatever it is you're supposed to learn, you have to understand me. And when
let's get to more questions, because people are like,
I know. No wonder the show is 2 hours, because there's so many questions. And
all right, thanks, Sunken Lantern. We spent a good 15 minutes at least on that one. All right, Leah Omega. I like the subject of emotions. And Leah is asking, am I wrong in thinking humans underestimate the value of emotions? No. I like the word itself. Emotions is motion, emotive
energy.
This is what motivates you.
Yeah.
I'm not like Spock. I dive into my emotions. I absolutely feel my feels, and I think it's a mistake not to. We really need to feel the lowest lows and the highest highs. Feel everything you can feel. There's no need to, go into places where you are not going. It's not going to be helpful to you. Greed and anger and those things, I don't know that they are that helpful.
Yes, they are actually. You're supposed to, everything.
You don't have to dwell on them, is what I'm saying.
Our emotions are the way they are because we know that we should love. Okay. We want love. We're born wanting love. We're shown love. And emotions are trying to work out why this kind of love for you is not being worked out with you that way. And you can become very emotional about it. But it all goes back to you being loved and us learning to love ourselves first. Okay. After your mom and dad love you, you have to remember that it's you love. Okay. And then you send that love out and have it return to you again and again and again and again. And you learn to expound on that and understand all the different, and I'm going to use this word correctly, flavors of love, all the heights of love, all the lows of love, and all its in all its Perturbations, yes.
Derivations.
Yes, because love is everything. And if you're angry, it's because something's wrong with why you're not receiving the light of kind of love you have either for yourself or from the other side of it. And if you're not showing love, you're not going to get love. And if you're pissing yourself off, you need to look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm the one doing this. Okay, let me think this one through again. We all have to understand what that means. And we have to teach each other what that means. It's so amazing because love is the most powerful emotion there is. It is the rock, the foundation of all of us. Because it was love that brought us into existence, and it's love that's going to carry us through it. Okay.
Yeah.
We have to think that one through.
I think that's, what the challenge we give ourselves. We come from love. We're made of love. We come into density. We come into form, and we endeavor to return to love. And that's the challenge we give ourselves. Some of us manage it and some of us don't. Actually, that was the name of my first book, Return to Love.
Yeah.
And, some of us have to die to return to love because we're so caught up in anger and resentment. And But, I was watching this morning, I got up at 4 o'clock. I've been getting up at 4 o'clock lately. I don't know why. And instead of meditating, which is what I should be doing, I watched a documentary about the Murdoch empire. It's on Netflix. Rupert Murdoch, and it was, so this guy who's this multi-billionaire and everybody, and he owns Fox News and he owns all these papers. And so it's about his family and how he pitted them against the other. And money won over love every time in this man's life, right? And I was thinking, God, his life review is going to be interesting because he's 95 now, right? And, so he's not, I don't know how much longer he's going to live. He could live another decade, but anyway. But I remember a long time ago, my little brother, my sister-in-law, not his wife, but my other brothers, had asked to borrow money from him to open a shop. And he didn't have the money, but he went to the bank and he borrowed the money to give to my sister-in-law, so his brother's wife, to open this fashion shop, right, for men. And then my other brother and them didn't do very well and weren't paying him back. And me, I got all incensed about it, a bit like you, Dolly, fairness. I'm like, you pay my other brother back the money, he's paying interest on that money. And my little brother wasn't perturbed about it. And I said, why are you upset about it? And he said, this is going to make me cry, I would rather have my brother than the money.
Oh.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, you're such a guru. Here's me all upset because it's unfair, that Libran thing. But he said, I'd rather have my relationship with my brother than the money. Anyway, and I thought, therein lies the lesson. Rupert Murdoch hasn't learned that lesson. Like, we have that opportunity to return to love regardless of the crap we go through.
Well, money in and of itself is valueless. There really is nothing there. The banks are largely empty anyway. They only hold about 10% of people's funds.
It's an illusion.
You won't fill your soul with money. You can only fill your soul with love. Money doesn't buy love.
You certainly can't take it with you.
Right.
Love and wisdom, that's what carries through. I think that's part of Salada's poem.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
So, okay, next question.
So the answer to this one is, do humans underestimate the value of emotions? Probably.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about emotions as guidance. You said that, you said it, Preston, emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. It is the frequency. It is what we feel, the motion of energy through our body. It's an indication of what we're doing with our consciousness or thinking. Like, are we thinking in alignment with the love that we are, or are we thinking out of alignment with the love that we are? And we gauge that through our emotion. So the better we feel, the more in alignment we are with our home, our source, our soul. And the worse we feel, the more out of alignment we are with our source, our home, who we are, or even the desires that we want. So it is our guidance system, the emotion, the energy in motion, that motion of energy through you, and you can gauge what you're doing. Yeah, it's a powerful, and I don't think many humans get that. They don't listen to their emotion as, oh, I'm thinking in a way that's out of alignment with who I am. I should change that. They just suffer their emotions and go, oh, a terrible place and I hate everybody and poor me, and they just suffer over their emotions rather than using it as guidance. oh, I'm
Yeah.
thinking in a way that's not in alignment with the truth.
It's so
of who I
interesting
am.
to me how emotions have their opposites too. You know,
Yeah,
depression and joy. We're supposed to live in joy.
right. Exactly.
And love
Okay.
overtakes
Love.
anger. You know, love conquers all the negative emotions. It's amazing.
It does.
Okay.
Love and laughter. And like, who was it that said it yesterday? Stay curious and and love deeply. I'm still loving that quote.
And laugh often. Yes.
Words of wisdom.
Joe, that was Joe from yesterday. Stay curious and love deeply. Next question.
Right. I'm popping up another one from Vladdy B. Question: when meeting lost souls for the first time, what is the best way to help them cross over? Is expanding their inner light and calling in angels to escort them to the other side a good way? It's not a bad way. I think that will work.
Yeah, but the point is that if you walk into somebody who's lost, it's your job to help them get over. And the fastest, bestest way to do that is to emotionally reach out to them in love and say, like, you know, I've said to Preston, find out who they are first. What's your name? Where are you from? What's going on with you right now?
Value them.
Yeah, value them. And because you have to show them that you are the light that's going to lead them out. And then you take them by the hand and you walk them through. And you know the way, because if you're on the other side, you already know that. You'll know it on the other side. And you just take them through. If you're sitting here like a medium doing it, I've had people, I still have to go out of body to take people to the other side. I can't just do it from here. I have to walk you through. And the valuable commodity to a medium is to be able to make that walk. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
and frankly, on this side too, you know, because people are lost here in the third dimension as well, and can definitely use that same assistance.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say that's great guidance for Vladdy. Vladdy's in Germany. I'm sure he knows a lot of lost souls. So rather than think about people that are out of body, think about the people that are in body, because you're there to help them. Yeah.
That's right. It's up to you. You got this. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think just expressing love is going to work wonders for people.
Right.
And yeah, you can tell there's all manners of being able to do it. I did it at my own house in Reseda by just telling them, you need to cross over. What are you doing here? There's a much better place. Just telling them or letting them know they've passed on.
Right.
But,
Yep.
All right, moving along. Leah Omega got another question in. KAren, please, do you have any info on the Aboriginal view of our star family?
Wow.
That's a question.
Yeah, I do. It's really interesting. A few years ago, I went out to Uluru. Everybody told me to go to the desert, but I'm a water baby. I'm always hovering around the coast. I usually can see the ocean from where I live. This house, not so much, but I'm 2 blocks away. So going into the desert was daunting to me because I was going to be so far away from Mother Ocean. But I went and it was absolutely beautiful. And I had this conversation with the rock, Uluru. And that was an amazing conversation because I'm surrounded by our First Nation people. And it's a very touristy area. So they're all there selling their wares. And they all depict the 7 sisters, the Pleiades. They all talk about the Pleiades. They're very in alignment with their Star Nation brothers and sisters. They have that complete understanding that we're not alone and that they come from there and that they're still guided by them. But there's a lot of stuff going on with the Aboriginal culture, like they separate the men from the women, the secret women's business, the secret men's business. So I'm chatting to the rock and I'm like, what's all this? Because when you start loving the First Nation philosophy, you can sort of, like any cultural philosophy, you can make everything right, even though it's out of date and old fashioned and, you know, and rooted in fear, like a lot of our culture is. And so I said to the rock, you know, what's all this thing about the separation, the segregation in the Indigenous community? And they said, you have to remember, KAren, that's not spirituality, that's culture. This is what the rock said to me. And I said, there's a difference between spiritual understanding and cultural understanding. And I'm like, yeah, of course, you know, but what we do when you start loving the Indigenous First Nation people's philosophy, because it seems to be so much more expanded than Western philosophy, because they understand who they are as spirit, they speak to dead people, they speak to their, you know, their off-world people for guidance. And so in that respect, it's more expanded than many Western cultures, but making everything they believe as right and spiritual. The Rock was saying to me, don't fall for that trap, because there's culture and then there's spirituality. But yeah, there's many stories of, I used to live with a girl called Penny who went out and lived with the remote tribe. I don't call them Aboriginal because ab stands for not. And so when you say Aboriginal, you say that they're not the original people, a name that the white people gave the First Nation Indigenous culture. So I usually call them First Nation or Indigenous. Mind you, I'm Indigenous because I was born in Australia. If you're born in a place, you're Indigenous to it. But the First Nation people or the original people. So she lived with a remote tribe of the original people. And one of her grandparents had died and she was flying home. And these two women from way out west walked for 4 days to come and to give her some ornaments for the funeral, because they knew telepathically, you know, there was no telephones out there at the time she lived there, that the grandparents had died, and they came to sort of offer her some culture for the funeral. And she would say to me that she would interrupt somebody, you know, ask them a question and they say, don't interrupting, I'm talking to grandma. So they're having conversations with dead people all the time. So they have this understanding that they're multidimensional, they're not just physical. But at the same time, the Rock said to me, or whatever consciousness I was talking to when I was addressing it to the Rock, again, don't mistake their cultural understanding for spiritual understanding. Yeah.
I love that culture. We studied it when I was in grade school. I felt this instant connection to them. It just made me cry, and I learned about it. They don't have a word for lying. They don't have a word for competition. They're all telepathic. The dream time. They're the oldest culture on our planet. They have, what do you call them? An oral tradition, an oral memory, an oral history of the Earth actually turning over on its axis and sees, you know, changing position, stars changing position. They remember that.
Yeah, it's in their stories, in their dream time.
Yeah, it's just such a beautiful culture. And
I mean, years ago, I had a woman on the show called, her and her husband. Her husband was a quadriplegic. He was in a wheelchair, a quadriplegic. Anyway, he met an Australian naturopath in a bar in America one night. And then she said, if you go out to Outback Australia and meet the original people of Australia, you'll be healed. And so he made his way to Outback Australia through a connection she had in Australia and met this remote tribe. And because they're a very secretive race.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I guess that their understanding was much more expanded than most white people. So they didn't teach the white people because they thought they were stupid. So they kept a lot of their understanding as secrets. But they said to him, you're the man we're going to give our secrets to. And they taught him a lot of their understanding, spiritual understanding. And he wrote this book called Secrets of Aboriginal, Healing Secrets of Aboriginals. And when I read it, I was so amazed. Remember how we were talking about Neil Donald Walsh's conversation with God yesterday? A lot of the information that they had was exactly the same as the information I'd read in other spiritual books. And I didn't realize that the Indigenous original people held that same spiritual wisdom in their, because just like white people, not every original person, black person, is going to hold those secrets. It's actually a majority, a very small minority of people that hold that wisdom. So many of them, like many Indigenous cultures or First Nation people, have got caught up with drugs and alcohol, and they haven't sort of integrated into the white way of living. They're given houses and cars. And even when I was out in Uluru, all the money that comes in from the tourist, they gave back the land of Uluru to the original people. And all the money that comes in from the people that go out there to visit the rock goes to the community, the original community.
Wow.
And so there's plenty of money that flows through, and they're given cars and houses, and they have no respect for material things. And so if the car breaks down, they leave it on the side of the road. They don't get it fixed, and they'll go and ask the government, for another car. And so I heard stories like this too. And so it's interesting. So not the whole population of the original people, it's very small because many of them were killed off, hold this knowledge, but there are people that do. It's like white people, not every white person's enlightened, not every black person's
I read a
enlightened.
survival book where two guys crashed in the deserts off the coast of Australia way back in the 1940s and were rescued by the First Nation folks. And the stories he had of how generous and wise they were was so amazing. But Dolly, I know you had an amazing experience at Ayers Rock that we're talking about in Symmetry. Do you want to give a little preview about that? Because they know about the ETs, the First Nation folks.
I wanted to go to Australia, and there was no way I was going to get there physically, in my normal human life. And so I made the request, and I was granted the ability to go. So Talata and I and a crew went, and we came down over the rock, and waiting for us on the ground was some of the original people. They knew we were coming, and they had a big bonfire up there, and they started waving at us, and we brought up some of them. Okay. And
oh, wow. Cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
I know something that President Preston doesn't know because we haven't had our last couple of interviews yet. I'm going to tell you live.
I know. I already don't know. This is driving me crazy.
I know. Well, y'all brought it up, so you're going to get it. Okay.
All right.
They are absolutely know who the Greys are. Their culture is part of the Grey culture. When you started saying they're separating each other out and this is their culture, they got it directly from the Greys, because the Greys don't teach their children together, male and female. They separate them out. And the women have their own separate things they do, and the men have their own separate things that they do in the Grey culture. Okay, tall Greys. And I was brought up with this. And the tree, they have these huge trees on the homeworld. It's and I was taught with all the girls, and I had two teachers. One of the students was an Aboriginal student, or an original student, as you say. And I was fascinated the first time I saw her. She was absolutely stinking beautiful to me, and apparently me being, I was toe-headed until I went through puberty, and I had this color hair before puberty. And she stared at me and I stared at her, and we just, gravitated toward one another, and we had détente with one another. And she said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I think I know where you're from." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I remember learning about your culture." And she said, "You're from Earth?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "So am I." And she held her hands out to me, and she said, "Turn your hands over." We both had the same color palms. Okay. And she said, "We're the same, we're the same, we're the same." And I said, "Of course we're the same." And I put my hand on her face like this, and she said, "We're the same, we're the same. It doesn't matter what's on the outside. It's human, And so when we went to Ayers Rock, guess who was there? Her. Literally waiting for us. They brought her up, and when she saw me, she freaked out because I am the pilot. And I let her sit in my seat, and I let her fly for 5 minutes. And she got the joy of that. I was astounded by their knowledge of ET. I was astounded by their knowledge of the universe, because they know things nobody else knows. I know this. They know how to calculate ascension and declination, and know where all of the constellations are, and all of the constellations behind the constellations. You have to be very, very advanced to do that, and they do it psychically, like it is, and they are in total communication with them. And then I remembered my childhood, because when Glenn went up the first time, he went over, the capsule went over Australia, and the first people had a bonfire going for them, and huge sparks were coming out of it. And he saw it from the capsule, and it nearly killed him. He could not believe what he saw. And he said, "I feel them. I know them. They're with me." And they did. And I want y'all to understand that these people should be protected at all costs.
Well, they're very protected. I mean, over the last, especially the last 20 years, 20 decade, they have been given back a lot of their land. As I say, the whole area of Uluru, the national park, is now completely run by them. The government doesn't run it, and all the profits go into the original community. But something that I learned when I was there is that I grew up hearing the word Ayers Rock we called it Ayers Rock. That's actually white man's name for the rock. It's
Right.
not the name the original people use, and it's not the name we use culturally in Australia anymore. We don't call it Ayers Rock. It hasn't been Ayers Rock for a long time. They call it Uluru. So I'm thinking Uluru is the name, you know, a name, an Indigenous name, the Indigenous people give. But I was told by a bus driver up there, actually, Uluru is the family name of the family that is the custodian of the rock at this present time. It's been, the family have been the custodian of that area and the rock for a while. I don't know how many years, like 50, 100, a couple of hundred. I don't know how many years. But when that family dies out, when all the Ulurus have died and there's not somebody to take over the custodianship, it will change its name to the name of the next family that will be the custodian of the nut. So it's actually a family name, not an Indigenous word. And I'm like, I did not know that. That was something I found really fascinating about the rock. Yeah. About the name of the rock.
Their names are amazing to me because the Grey use a lot of their same language in their language. Just saying.
What is that tone? Do you hear that weird tone sound?
Somewhere, something.
Sorry, that's the workmen here. They're being noisy.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to mute my mic.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a secret.
It sounded musical to me.
ET are not here right now. I've said that a bunch of times. Okay. They've been gone since 2022. But when you see those people disappear, and you will, one day y'all are going to wake up and you won't be able to find them. They get to go first when ET comes back. I'm just telling you, and they know it. They are number one on the list. They will go first. And if you suddenly don't see them anymore, start looking up big time because you better be ready. Okay. That's all I'm saying. They go first.
Who goes first?
The original people.
Okay.
In Australia.
Don't you love that name, original instead of Aboriginal? I love that. Stephen Strong, Stephen and Eben Strong, they're actually white people, but they're very entrenched in the original culture, and they do a lot of talks. And I've had Stephen on the show a couple of times. He gave me that piece of information that like abnormal, Aboriginal means not. So white man gave them that name, the Aboriginals, meaning the not original people. I'm like, whoa. Even in that book, which you're not in love with, the Cyber Prophecy, when they talk about the black people and the yellow people being the first to inhabit this planet after it was formed, they did say that the black people were in Australia, and the original people speak about themselves being the first humans on Earth. But they weren't the only first. There were the yellow people were here around the same time as them. So there was in the area that we understand as Asia and the area that we understand as Australia is where humans sort of first populated after Earth was formed.
I'll check out that book again. Yeah. Have you heard of the book Mutant Message from Down Under?
Okay.
Have you heard of that book, Mutant Message from Down Under?
Mm-hmm.
No. Check it out. I'd be very curious about your opinion about it. It's a lady who went to live with the original people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very deeply spiritual book.
Yeah, the books I was telling you about by the guy that went, because this happened 40 odd years ago, 50 odd years ago, when the paraplegic, I think he was a paraplegic. He went into the desert and met this. So he stayed with them for 10 days in the desert, and they verbally gave him their stories, their secrets. He wrote it down, put it in a book, because he said, now is the time for humanity to know what we know, and you're our guy to do that, according to him. And he wrote a couple of books, Secrets of Aboriginal Healing and the Secrets of the anyway, I have to remember his name. It'll come to me. I'll look it up in a minute. He came back walking, out of his wheelchair. So they gave him the healing, they healed him.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't running, he wasn't sprinting after 10 days, but he was out of his wheelchair. Yeah, so he's since left the planet, and his wife continues the work. She works as a healer, and the books are still out there. But yeah, you'll send me the tech. Write it in the chat, the name of that book, because I've forgotten it already, Preston.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a strange title. Mutant. I'll write it. But now let's go to the next question, because you just brought up that topic. And this is such an important topic for all of us. And it's basically healing. Joe is asking, please help me heal from spinal stenosis and osteoarthritis. Meds are not helping. Lumbar punch again next week. Oh, the healing challenges we all face on this planet. What can we do, KAren?
Big. Yeah, it's big. Well, I did a whole session on healing, and the main principle which is involved in healing is what you resist persists. So when something goes wrong with us, we resist it. Like we say, I don't want this. This is not what I want. I don't want to be like this. So when we're sick, we ask to be well. And a part of that asking is a part of the resistance of what is happening to us. So any trauma that we experience, we resist it. And the more we push against what we're experiencing in our life, the longer it stays. What you resist persists. So what I tell my clients, and what I did, the exercise I did on the last Elevate show, was to go into your body and thank it for the experience that you're having. It seems counterintuitive because lumbar, so you've got spine problems, you might be in pain. It seems counterintuitive to go and speak to the pain and say, thank you for this pain. Thank you for this problem. But just like we spoke about emotions, energy in motion, the motion of energy through our body informing us about what we're doing with our thinking. So pain, when we don't listen to our emotions, so pain gets louder, and it is guidance from our body, the intelligence of the body or the intelligence of the soul, same thing, speaking to us about how we're flowing our energy. And we rely on the physical circumstances to be changed through resistance. Our whole allopathic system is based on that. Fight the disease, fight it, fight the cancer, pummel it with drugs, get rid of the problem by killing the problem. And it's completely wrong. I have seen myself heal instantly. I've split myself open and gone and sort of contacted the love that is source and seen the cut just heal instantly. I've done it with bruises and breaks, and I've broken my arm and gone in and thanked it and have it heal. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I've done it using this same process of non-resistance or love, as we spoke about, using the frequency and the energy of love. Can you love your problem? Can you love your disease? Because what we do is we hate it and we want it different and we want it fixed. So I've also noticed that when I don't love what's happened, the pain lasts longer and I heal slower. So I tell this story of the stairs out the front of my place were moldy, and I was complaining in my head, the real estate agent should fix the stairs. Someone will slip down those stairs because they're getting moldy. We had a lot of rain. They're getting greener and greener. And the stupid idiot that slipped down the stairs was me. So having thought about how dangerous the stairs were going to be for people that come over to my house and, and thinking they need to be washed, they need to be fixed. The idiot that slipped down the stairs was me going to the post. And I kind of was beating up on myself because I knew someone was going to slip down the stairs. But it had been in my consciousness, and I'm thinking, did I create this for myself? Of course I created it for myself, because I kept thinking about someone slipping down the stairs, so I manifested it for myself. So now I'm beating up on you stupid idiot, you idiot. And the more resistance we're in, the more pain we receive. And so I remember being in resistance and feeling the throbbing pain of the bruises that I had, the damage I'd done to my body. And it wasn't until I reconciled that story I had in my head about being an idiot and falling down the stairs, and I should have known better. And I know this stuff. I know we create our reality, and I completely created what I didn't want to create. When I stopped that story, then the pain went away. But that didn't happen for days, and so I've watched myself hang on to pain through my own resistance. And I've also watched pain completely disappear through just loving it. I remember getting a blue bottle sting at the beach once when I was learning about healing in my 30s, and they hurt, like they wrap their tentacles around you and it stings. It's like burning, and you get these big welts on your body from blue bottle stings. And I came out of the ocean and sat on the beach, and I'm like, now I wonder why I've created this for myself. What possibly could be the benefit of it? So I'm thinking of a story in my head. I'm making it up. I'm thinking maybe the electricity and the sting of the blue body is stimulating a part of my body that needed to be stimulated. I'm coming up with a better story than, oh, I'm in pain, the bloody blue bottle. Do you know what I mean? It was a better story, and I'm feeling gratitude for the blue bottle stinging me. And Dolly and Preston, the pain just instantly went away, because blue bottle stings last.
So what you're saying is try to look at these as a gift to push you in another direction, or
right.
Look for the opportunities that it's offering you. or try to learn the lesson that's karmic attached to it, perhaps. But they're all different ways of healing. You know, laughter is very healing. Communing with nature is healing.
Absolutely.
The correct foods.
What's so interesting was
sleep.
when I was sitting on the beach, you know, and the pain of the blue bottle sting completely disappeared because I was coming up with like gratitude for it. I kind of had I convinced myself so much how great it was to be stung by a blue bottle that when the pain disappeared, I found myself wanting it to come back. Oh, the pain's gone. Come back, pain. Come back, pain. So it's like we talk ourselves in and out of stuff, right? And food is the same. We can eat food that we think is good for us or think is bad for us. Esther Hicks from the Teachings of Abraham says, we don't know how you humans know what to eat anything. You've demonized everything. Everything's bad for you. Everything's good for you. You know, like the humble egg when I was a naturopathic student, it was going to kill you and then it was going to heal you because it had cholesterol. It was going to give you heart attacks. But it had
do a whole show on healing, Karen. Sounds like you know a lot.
I know a lot about healing.
Should tell people, don't blame yourself. You know, don't beat yourself up over this. Because sometimes we lose these things and there's nothing you can do because we all on Earth do have a limited time here. And there isn't a person on this planet who hasn't experienced pain and illness.
Yeah.
So recognize that. But Dolly, what do you have to say about it?
Well, I can tell you as a registered nurse, I'm not going to give you medical advice, but I'm going to give you things to think about that will help you. Stenosis is an autoimmune issue. You're genetically coded for this to occur, and your immune system starts attacking your nervous system, and it will attack nerves, muscles, discs, tissue, everything. It will cause inflammation that pushes the disc the wrong way, or the bones the wrong way to push the disc the wrong way. It's a whole thing, and it will deteriorate. And when we're under, like we are right now, everybody has to understand that right now we're under huge amounts of radiation coming in on us that we're not normally used to. So I tell people three things. You need to look up the inflammation patterns of stenosis and figure out which vitamins or supplements or naturopathy that you can use. And I prefer to go naturopathy myself, that you can start eating and drinking and things that you should avoid. Anything processed, don't put it in your mouth. Learn to sleep better. Learn to Faraday your body at night to protect you from the radiation coming in at night. You can get a Faraday blanket, no problem, to sleep in to help you with that. It'll slow it down somewhat. And how you think, and Karen is exactly correct. How you embrace what you have going on is paramount. How you understand what it is and how you process through it. You can either totally cure yourself, or you can at least turn it around so that it repairs itself over time. Stenosis is a big deal. Most people are genetically coded to get it. It probably runs in your family. And now, you don't know that you're doing things to make it worse. There are foods that you can eat that will help it. And there are foods that you eat now that are probably causing you more grief than not with stenosis. Also, I would tell you that meditation, the Om meditation, the healing Om meditation is it's a frequency. So I would go get a singing bowl, a brass singing bowl with E minor or A minor, and I would put the bowl on your belly, flat on your back, because your back needs to be in alignment when you do this. Get really comfortable. Do it when nobody else is going to bother you or can tolerate listening to the bowl, and you ring that rim, and then you let the rim vibrate through your whole body, because sound heals. And E minor, A minor are two that work on the spine and the nervous system. So I would tell you that. And you have to remember that you must get rid of all the toxins in your body at the same time, because stenosis is one of those vulnerable conditions genetically that are affected by toxins in the body. So think that one through. But
we definitely have to do a show on healing. I'm feeling it really strongly. Will you come back, Karen, and do a show on healing?
Absolutely. I just want to finish this little segment with something that I read years ago. I can't remember which book it was in. Because healing is something, I was in my early 20s when I studied to be a naturopath, studied 5 years full time, and then went into energy healing. And healing has been the journey of my life, because my mum died, young of cancer, and it sparked like, why do we get sick? So, but I remember reading in a book years ago, somebody viewing a past life, and there was a little girl, I don't remember if it was them or somebody else's past life, details escaped me. This little girl had fallen off a wagon, and she was run over by another wagon, and she had become paralyzed in that lifetime. And then, having left that lifetime and having the soul review, the life review, she often wondered why that had happened to her in that lifetime. And she had discovered that the plan of the soul was to develop her mind and her mental capacity in that lifetime. And she was very active. And so by keeping her still like that meant that she became very highly intelligent, and she wrote many books, and she excelled through mental capacity, something that the soul was wanting to establish and to learn in that lifetime. So it had incapacitated her physical body during that lifetime. I found that really fascinating to learn. And so I often say to my clients is, when something has happened to you and you want to know why, ask your soul, what is it that you're learning from this experience? What is it that the soul is wanting to know from this experience? Maybe you want to become a healer yourself, and so you have an illness that you go on a journey of finding the cure, and you look into allopathic and naturopathic and energy healing, and this takes you on a journey. And maybe that's the journey the soul was looking for through the problems that you're experiencing. But there's always some answer to it. So in meditation, as Dolly says, when you ask your soul, what is it that you want me to know in this lifetime? And when you find that answer, you might never be healed of that particular problem, but you can be more grateful for it. And that gratitude and that love you'll have less suffering, or it might heal completely, just depending on the soul plan. Yeah. Okay.
Wow, I just love this. We absolutely have to do this, because I've wrote a book, UFO Healing, The Healing Power of UFOs. Dolly's a nurse. You've been studying this for a long time. We are doing a show on this in the future. Okay. Just healing.
Yeah.
There's a lot we could all say about it.
It's a big subject.
We have 31 more starred questions, and there's 26 comments I haven't even looked at yet.
Gosh.
Holy cow. Okay.
Holy cow.
This is awesome. I'm having so much fun. Okay. Next question is Leah, Omega 8. And I'm not sure what this question means, Leah, but I'm going to try. If we were chosen to be introduced to star folks, would there be a way to regulate our forms? I'm not sure what you mean by regulate.
No. We cannot regulate our forms. You're already meeting star people every day of your life. We're all star people. All of us on this planet, we are the children of star people. Every last one of us. We are all related to one another. There's no doubt. You should never doubt that at all. You don't have to regulate anything. All you have to do is be you. To honestly open up and let you come out, let your consciousness walk this and talk you through this, your physical mind, take yourself through. In honesty, all things are possible. And that is the truth. Okay. You must understand that if you're genuinely meeting somebody, it was meant to happen. Don't take it for granted, and enjoying with this person in an honest conversation about what you think you need to be talking about with them. Let it flow through you, to you, by you, from you, whatever. Because it's not just you who's needing this conversation, it's them as well. We have to remember that it's not all giving and you receiving. You must give as well so that they may receive. This is a two-way street here. And think that one through. Okay.
All right. I'm popping this up because Nick reminded me regarding the homework from last night. You want to talk about that, Dolly?
Sure. Okay. So let's all share. Last night, I was meditating and I met Murphy, my battle buddy.
Oh, wait, what was the assignment? Remind me.
The assignment was to let yourself go silent in your mind, to meditate and try to go through and either remote view out or OBE out. In other words, allow it to happen to yourself. Learn the experience. Do anything you can to get into the position that you're ready to go. And some people are going to be ready to go right on the precipice of it. And then others may just flop right on out. Everybody is different in their journey. And, not everybody walks first. Okay. So how'd everybody do? What'd y'all do? Because I know I did. I was out.
You were out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I walked up to Dolly and I asked her, I'm like,
Yeah.
or no, I told her, give me a phrase that I will remember so we can verify this.
Mhm.
And I told it to her. She's like, oh, yep, that's it. They were talking about this. And I'm not going to say the
Yeah.
phrase because
No, because it's a military thing.
it's
Y'all don't wanna hear
weird. It's very unique. And it didn't mean what I thought it meant, but but it was absolutely an interesting confirmation. But yeah, meditation is absolutely key. I hope you guys had some interesting experiences. Dr. Nils, I tried and failed, but I did have a great sleep.
Good. Hey, that's a good thing.
Try
Absolutely.
again. Keep
Yeah.
trying.
Nick
Keep doing
says,
it.
I met lions.
Nice.
I reaffirmed that my affiliate is with the Lyrans. That's cool.
Very
Cool.
interesting.
That is cool.
There you go.
Yeah, that is cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I have to say I failed the homework because I didn't consciously do it because there's so much going on. There's so much going on at my place. But just before we went live, remember I was chatting to my mob and I shut my eyes because like I can contact different dimensions just shutting my eyes. They all like all these images. And I saw this whale eye right in front of me, this beautiful whale eye. What were we talking about when I saw the whale eye, Preston? We were talking about accessing different levels of dimensions,
Right.
different levels of experience. Different.
When you saw the eye, did you ask the eye, who are you?
I didn't need to. Well, when I say who are you, I knew it was a whale. I didn't ask its name. No. Who are you?
Thank you, Drumstick. You remembered the dream. That's good. You remembered that you had something happen to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
Drumstick says he had a vivid dream.
Yeah,
Dreams are
nice.
so important, you guys. I think we have a tendency to look at them as garbage of the mind or just nonsense.
Yeah,
they are messages from your consciousness and always have something important to tell you, whether it's about your own emotions or verified information about what's coming towards you in life. They're very important. Pay attention to your dreams.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Dolly, getting back to your question, did I ask who the whale was? No, but remember, I asked questions because I always ask questions. I'm like, why am I seeing a whale? And they said to me that they have the ability to access what we were talking about. We were talking about, how many levels can we access? And I think Preston said he doesn't access that pure source, or he doesn't remember accessing that pure source. And the guide said, well, you're always there. You don't need to access it. You're always there. And then the whale popped in and I said, why am I looking at a whale? And they said they have the ability to access those layers of consciousness, layers of experience. And like years ago, Drumbelow Melchizedek, who was an teacher, ET here on Earth. Have you ever heard of Drumbelow Melchizedek? He was talking about pardon?
Melchizedek, I know the last name. I didn't know the first name.
The last name. Yeah, this is a guy who's called himself Drumbelow Melchizedek. And he was talking about his journey to Earth, and he was saying that he was hanging out by the eye of a whale on the Sirius B planet, the water planet. And he was saying that the whales and the dolphins traverse between these two planets, their consciousness at will. They are conscious of being in bodies on that planet and being in bodies on this planet. So they're simultaneously living in the dolphin body or a whale body here on Earth, as well as on they have that full consciousness that they're there and here simultaneously, and they can project their consciousness between the two worlds. And he was saying that particular life form came from that planet and they were placed here on Earth in our oceans. Yeah, fascinating. So the whales and the dolphins have this expanded awareness and consciousness. Yeah.
They're sentient beings, actually, intelligent life like we are, and they're probably there are just to mention this, behind the Pleiades, in line with it is
Delphinus.
The Delphinus galaxy, and it's huge. And there's a planet there, and it's a water world. And I've been, and I have a friend there.
You've been there?
Yes. I have a friend there. Her name is Micha. And she lives on the land part of it, but I was introduced into the water sort of like on a grid survey. we were testing for things, and during the survey, I started to see beings who lived in the water, and they were like dolphins, but they're like you and me. They're smart.
Yeah.
They can
I am
communicate.
fascinated by the aquatic beings.
Yeah, and then being
there's that
like dolphins and like whales as well, living all over the place.
There's that fabulous movie called something like water, and it's set in the 50s, and it's about a aquatic being being captured and held captive.
The Shape of Water?
The Shape of Water. I love that movie. I love that being. As I say, I'm a water baby. I'm sure I've got many lives in an aquatic environment. Every time I dive under the water, I feel at home. Every time. My daughter's the same. She's a fish. She's a dolphin. And those aquatic beings fascinate me, Dolly. I love, and there's so many different looks and flavors and structures. Some look more like fish, some look more like humans. Just look at our oceans. Even James Cameron, who made Avatar, was inspired by the creatures in Avatar from the creatures in our oceans, like those. Yeah, it's just the creativity of the different creatures in our oceans is just amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, next question. We could talk about this whole show too.
Yeah, we're not going to get through all these questions, but we're going to try.
Just so you know, see my animal shirt tonight?
Yeah.
I'm all animal today. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Texas cacti. This is a good question. Some say you can break the contract. Your thoughts? I think that depends on what you mean by the contract.
Yeah, which contract? Which contract?
I wouldn't call it a contract that you sign and you're obligated to be in the contract. This is just something
soul
that
contract.
An agreement.
An agreement. Thank you very much.
A desire.
If you change your bloody mind, you can change your bloody mind. You're sovereign.
You can change your bloody mind. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's true with people who make an agreement to meet and work with the ETs. If they find it's too uncomfortable and disruptive in their Earth life, you say, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
No. Yeah. I've heard that with many psychics too, that they've had these incredible psychic abilities and they can't function as a normal human, and they just say, turn them off, and they turn off. A friend of mine, Frances Ray Key, wrote these incredible books after her mother died, and her mother identified her as this little psychic kid and said, you should develop those, and it freaked her out, and she asked to turn them off. And so they were off until her mother died, and then when her mother died, she reached out to speak to her mother, and she started channeling all this wisdom, like she reopened them. Yeah, so we've got this free will. We can say yes, no, no, thank you.
I do think that if you came down to life wanting to complete a certain number of tasks and you're like, no, I'm not doing it, you'll probably come back.
Exactly. That's what's karma.
Because it was you who made that decision initially.
Exactly.
That's why be careful what you want, because you might just get it,
I kind of get this feeling we're all up on the astral planes, like, sure, I can do Earth, no problem. When you get there,
exactly.
like, I'm not so sure I made it. Like,
Exactly. I can do Earth. I can do Earth. Yeah. Put it all on my
there.
plate.
It looks easy.
Okay.
All right. I love this next question so much. It's very perceptive, and it's from Co 614. I think I got enough co's there. Question: are our memories stored in our brain or in the astral? Please explain. Thank you.
That's a good question.
It is very good.
Your brain, your physical brain, doesn't know nothing when you're born. Okay.
It don't know nothing.
Can I use an analogy? It's like saying, is the electricity stored in the toaster?
Right, exactly. But it ain't there. Where it is you are the being with the whole mind of all the knowledge you need anywhere, at any time, in any place. So you're training yourself from the moment of conception. You're working with your own physical brain to pre-program it. That's why you can understand language so rapidly, because you've got consciousness up here going, yes, that's talking back and forth to you and helping your physical brain program itself to be ready to live life here. You are not going to remember with your physical brain. You only remember things like past lives and things like that, or you remember your abilities, you remember relationships and things like that, but it all comes from consciousness, okay? Not your physical brain. And I'll give you an example, because I learned this, so I'm going to talk about it. When I was born, I was about, 10 weeks old, and we were in the car heading for Florida from Georgia. And my father was being transferred, and I was in a pram that comes off the wheels, and goes in the car. We didn't have seatbelts, so it put me in the pram in the back seat. And I'm seeing stuff going by in the window. I'm looking at it, and I put my foot up, as a contrast. So I'm staring at my foot, and I counted 5 toes. And I knew I was counting, and I was like, oh, because I knew where I was. The minute I realized I had 5 toes, I knew where I was. And I realized that I was thinking to myself, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. And it went from there. And I remember every single stupid thing that ever happened to me to this day, all of it. How did I do that? It wasn't my physical brain doing it at all. I was already in contact with my consciousness. I was remembering past lives. I used to run around the house, less than 2 years old, singing in different languages that I knew. Okay. I drove my mother. Cool. I was reliving lives, who I was and this, that, and the other. And my mother had a really weird time with it. I wanted a sorry so bad. Over crazy. They finally came, okay? I had a sorry. She made it. Okay, it wasn't like Indian material. It was like she took a couple of bathrobes apart and made me a sari with the long sleeves. It had card like spades and clubs and hearts and diamonds on it. Okay, but I had a sari. Okay, one of the songs I remembered all the way. I never forget anything. Okay, so I know these songs, and I was talking to my doctor once who was East Indian, and I was telling him about my memory of my past life, and he said, well, what's the song? And I sang it to him, and he's like, his jaw went. He said, I know that dialect. He said, you sing it like you speak it. And I said, I remember living then. And he's like, wow. And he wanted to put an EKG on my, EEG on my head, and I said, no, because it's not coming from my physical mind. I know I'm remembering it this way. So the moral to this story is that you're born with the capacity to tap anything you want to know about everything, because your consciousness already knows. Your physical mind, and all you have to do is be in contact with who you really are. You open the channel, volume up. Ta-da.
I'd like to talk about just before we went live, Press and I were talking about what you'd like to talk about, like accessing different hypnosis, out of body experience, different levels of consciousness. Yeah. And we touched on it on ATP yesterday, the different brainwave frequencies. And so when I studied a healing technology, energy healing technology in my 30s, our teacher had been married to a hypnosis, and she had learned about these brainwave frequencies, and she taught us, which I found really fascinating, the beta, we say beta in Australia, beta, alpha, theta, gamma states. So as she was teaching us to get into this, like she would just say, go up and talk to God. This was her vernacular. In order to talk to God, you need to put yourself in a theta brainwave. So the way that we access these different brainwaves, which is the brain registering the frequency or the access we have, like it's not where the memories are stored, but you can read the waves of the brain to see what you're doing with your mind, I suppose. So that beta state is the chatty mind, the questioning mind, the critical mind, the judgmental mind. It's the monkey mind, as it's been called. And when we relax, we fall into an alpha brainwave, and that alpha brainwave accesses memory. And it's also a great place to learn, like when we're learning, when we're absorbing information, we're in alpha. And then moving into, and there are different layers of in each state, high alpha, low alpha, high theta, low theta. Accessing theta. Theta gives you that access to not just memory, it gives you access to your subconscious programming. And then as you move through theta, you have access to the superconscious mind, or what the soul wants. When I said to people, ask your soul, like put yourself into that relaxed that state. And this is what we do with hypnosis. We relax the person, we bring them down out of the beta, alpha into the theta, into the high theta, middle theta, low theta, and sometimes even into the gamma.
Into what's your true mind.
Right. What it gives you, it's that frequency, that vibration that you can measure on an electromagnetic, whatever the ECG, that is showing you where you're accessing consciousness. And so monks that have meditated for years and years and years can be awake and in a delta brainwave, whereas most people in delta are either unconscious or fast asleep. I mean, many people never reach delta, and theta is the brainwave of sleep and REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. So when you're dreaming and your eyes are, that's when in a theta brainwave. But interestingly enough, Dolly, you were talking about what you could do as a little kid. Children, up until they hit puberty, are mostly in a theta brainwave. They absorb information. It's just like they're psychic sponges, and they have access to all this multidimensional ability. They can see.
They remember
ghosts
past lives.
and they remember past lives. Yes, and then as they get older and move through puberty and they start getting more resistance and start fighting with their parents, because little kids, mostly, not all little kids, really loving and do what their parents say. Not all little kids, but and then you get to the teenage years where everybody's wrong and you're kind of rebellious, and then that's when we start to sort of get the pattern of thinking more in that beta brainwave, that resistant mind, that critical judgmental mind, and that sort of locks us out of that accessing higher consciousness or expanded consciousness. Yeah. And so the brain waves are fascinating, but it is possible to be awake and alert and in a theta brainwave when you meditate and practice meditating, and psychics and you guys have that access. That's how I can talk to my guides instantly. But I find when I'm in my critical upset mind, judging, bloody builders, like this, I don't have access in those moments. But when I relax and bring myself back to the heart, I get that access back. Yeah, go on.
I think the simple answer to that question, is no. They're not stored in the brain. The brain is like a hard computer and a
hard drive of your computer. Yeah, it's the mechanics of your computer. The program itself is all electromagnetic, and that's coming from outside of you.
Yeah, your brain, your memories are held in source.
Remember,
there are people who are walking around who have almost no brain, through brain damage or an accident, head injuries. There's a lady, I forget what she is, but she has like 1/5 of her brain. She's still functioning. She's fine. Absolutely. And brain scientists or memory scientists, I laugh when I hear their studies because it's not true. People remember down to birth and earlier.
I want to make a statement. I want you to hear this because you're talking around what the heart of this really is. Okay, your brain transmits as well as receives information.
Absolutely,
that is how it operates. You couldn't be in this body without that. You're transmitting to yourself from your consciousness into your physical mind, from your heart, because that's where you're indwelling your body. They know for a fact now that when you see these kids that are on an electroencephalogram and an EEG, and they're talking through a machine that can interpret what their brainwaves are saying, they have actually learned to process or read or understand what our brainwaves are saying, and it goes through a computer program and it writes itself out. This is known scientific ability. They have proven, and you all have to understand this, that we do transmit out. We also receive in, and they've also been able to see that they can put people on an EEG and transmit to them from another room, another place, and they see the transmit going to their brain and their brain actually hearing it and responding to it. Okay, so we know we're transmitting out and we're transmitting in. Alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma are 5 of the most prominent frequencies that we produce. There are others, okay, that are lower, that are more of the
subliminal.
No, it's the mind that controls the body without you being aware of it, like your heart rate,
like subconscious. Right.
Some people want to call it I don't even want to go there. It's wrong. Anyway, so
I call it the body intelligence.
The body has to take care of itself, and it doesn't need you to do it. It does it automatically. The autonomic system is very important.
My mom used to say that. The body's an amazing machine. It can take care of itself.
Right, without your help. Right. But what we have to learn is that there are 3 frequencies that you need to work with when you're meditating. One is alpha. That's the first one that brings you down into quiet. Then you must shut up the theta waves that your brain is going chat, 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 chat. you need to flatline it. You need to make it go down and to be quiet. And then you must allow the volume to go up in delta, because delta is the receiver wave for incoming transmissions. Okay. Now, there's a way to do that, because you will see in your own mind's eye things happening when you get those three things under control. To be totally in alpha, to drop theta down, to shut the hell up, because that's your physical brain operating, not your consciousness. Your consciousness comes in on delta waves. Okay. That's where we're listening. And you can tell, because there is a, I want to give it a name. It's like sitting in front of a fireplace, not thinking about anything and staring into the flames. Nothing's going on around you, but suddenly you start to hear something. That's where delta is. Delta is the sound of transmission coming into you, and you will hear it audibly. And once you achieve that audible connection to your consciousness, your true self, because people fleetingly hear themselves talk to themselves, like your mind is totally chatting to you all the time, and delta will override it every now and then, your consciousness, your true self, to tell it to shut up, you're saying the wrong stinking thing. I'll give you a for instance. I'm driving down the road, and all of a sudden I get this weird cracker idea to do something I know I should not do. Okay. And it upsets the heck out of me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why would I do that? That's your consciousness, your true consciousness overriding that message, because that's the stinking thinking in your cranium, or you're hearing it from somewhere and your consciousness is overriding it. You don't realize you're doing that 24/7 every single day. You're already in contact with your consciousness. You have to recognize it while it's occurring. And that's what meditation is for. That's what learning to shut the theta waves down, let the delta come in, so that you can be in contact with yourself. I ride delta all the time. I've learned to be.
We're running out of time, by the way.
Okay. That's how that's when I tell you I'm already fully 100% awake 24/7. I don't sleep. And
we've only got 5 minutes left, haven't we?
Yeah,
so
really...
hear the message other than you chatting, and you can tell the difference. It's like being at home. You're home. Okay. That's the feeling you get when it hits you. You know yourself already.
Yeah.
You know yourself.
I agree.
So let's see if we can, do a rush through couple of questions.
Okay.
10 seconds answer each. How many dimensions?
12.
12. Okay.
More than that. 12. Absolutely 12. You got it. Okay.
Are white light orbs okay or not? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
White light is white light. Don't fear it.
Mm-hmm. Do ETs create art and music?
Yes.
Some.
They don't hang it on their walls, okay? But yes, they're very artistic people. And yes, they love music. Oh my God, it's a language and they all speak it. Okay.
Yeah. And they marvel at the way we create it. Some of them.
Yeah.
What's your sign, Karen?
I guess sun sign is Libra. Sun sign. I guess that's what you mean, Leah.
What's your
sun sign is?
All right. One more. Bahama. Kane has asked this several times. Do musicians and like Jimi Hendrix and others have connections to UFOs, and why?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. ETs love musicians.
Hendrix on board.
Read Grant Cameron's book, about the music. What's it called? I've had Grant on the show a couple of times talking about how many musicians were contacted by ETs to put messages in the music.
All right. We're out of time. We're flat out of time.
Oh,
Karen,
I just want to say, Shirley here, she says, when I realized as I was as light, this is in response to the homework, I could be anywhere and everywhere with anyone. It was fast, and then I slept deeply for hours. Oh,
there you go.
That was homework. It's so much fun with you guys. It's so much fun. It does go so quickly, so quickly.
All right, check out Awakened by Death. And there's your beautiful face.
Yeah.
I sure need it. I've got to get my head down.
Return to Love. Awesome. That was so much fun. What a great show. We'll do that again.
I feel like there's so much more to say. Yeah, I love your audience. I love my audience too. You've just got a bigger audience. Curious minds. I love a curious mind. I love it. Love it. Stay curious, love deeply.
So any last messages before we go, Karen?
Stay curious, love deeply. Joe said it. I'm going to be quoting Joe. That works. Big love to you all.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. We truly appreciate that you could join us. Take your time. We absolutely love all of you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, Namaste, and Louise and Sunny Burnett. You guys who so generously donate to us. I just want you to know it means a lot. We truly appreciate it. The Owl Man, Oga's Hanardik, and frankly, all of you, every one of you who joined us tonight. Much love to you. It's just so heartwarming. It really is.
It's beautiful.
All right, Dolly, I guess it's time to take us out. As much as I hate to end the show, we're out of time.
Thank you, everyone. Love to you all, especially everybody. That's how I do this. We're coming to you live from the Light Gate and from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. Everybody go forth, learn all that is learnable, love, be loved, enjoy and love. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Night, night.
Bye.